This is Farm All fan Max Armstrong, longtime farm broadcaster, welcoming you here to the Farm All 51 channel.
Yes, sir.
Matt Holder here along with me. We did a little walk around of the equipment that I have, the Super H that I grew up with in southern Indiana, a 404 acquired here in North Carolina, and a 1951 International truck that spent its life here in North Carolina. And it's fun for me to talk about these things with you, Matt,
yes,
and share
sir.
a little background. One thing that occurs every time I visit with somebody about the old equipment is how little I know.
Yeah.
You know, there's so
We
many
learn
people,
something every day.
there's so many people who've spent more time around the equipment than I have, and have delved into the research even more than I have. And you know, under the tree at a tractor show, sometimes you learn a lot of things.
Yes. Like I say, I always, you find an older gentleman that's spent his life growing up on that machine,
Right.
And you learn quite a bit.
Or
from
they
him.
worked at a dealership, or
Yeah.
they sold them at a dealership,
Yeah.
you know, or a mechanic in the back shop there. A lot of people were involved in these machines back in the day. This is a 61.
61.
Came out of the Louisville plant, and I would have been in second grade, I guess, the year that it was manufactured, about 150 miles west of our farm in Indiana. There were probably some 404s around us, but not too many.
Yeah.
You know, back in those days, there would have been some. I remember seeing one on the dealer's floor when I was in there.
Yeah.
You know, Dad would go to the parts counter, and I would be wandering around on the showroom floor, smelling the new paint and the tires.
Taking brochures home and.
Yep.
This is this early 61?
Yeah. Well, it was actually November.
Okay.
November 30th, so it would have been right around Thanksgiving. Ray Smith did such a great job in working on this tractor, and you know,
I would come by and
he's a gem.
I would come by and watch him or see the progress as he said that was one of the most nerve-wracking tractors to restore, and not because of what it was, but partly he said these tractors are a little more complicated with all the sheet metal. The later you get, the sheet metal gets more complicated, but he said, kind of the pressure was on because of whose tractor it was. And he's restored. The only other one that he said he had trouble that was hard to do was a 574.
Oh, sure.
It was very.
A lot of those came down this way, didn't they?
Yeah.
Quite a few.
Especially the back of special or the back of versions, but.
And the 404 starts real well. Doesn't need any choke. Shouldn't have any choke. it just doesn't need it. Steiner has these key rings.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen any of those or not.
Yeah, I've seen. I spend quite a lot of time combing all the different part sites.
They're coming up with some new things, some magnets too, that are replicas of gauges. But the styling was so nice on this tractor.
Jeff Foreman with the emblem guy, or they call him that emblem guy. But you send off those, you send them off and he'll restore them.
Oh, is that right?
That's what he does. He's been to a lot of Red Power shows, but he takes all these emblems and he'll original condition, I guess. But these were very popular. These little utility tractors, I guess, around here were real popular. But
yeah, you've seen those pictures of the Louisville plant with the train loads of small tractors. They had to be sending most of them down this direction.
Everybody, we go up north somewhere and says, y'all never had anything but small stuff. And our biggest tractor was a M or a 1066, and I mean, you didn't see anybody with a 1206 or a 1456. It was just, if you did, they didn't have any fenders on them or anything like that. So they call them the southern tractors, the no TAs and no fenders. And
well, my Super H has no fenders. I always said that since it was delivered 2 blocks from where I was delivered the same summer, I was probably the fenders. Mom and Dad couldn't afford them. Actually, some states required them. Indiana did not. Wisconsin required fenders.
Oh,
as I understand it. That's what I was always told, anyway. It has been in downtown Chicago. It has been in Wisconsin. The light's a little better over on this side to light up the red paint. I always tell people, take pictures with the sun behind you. Yeah. Because it lights up that red paint. But I think this tractor has been painted over the years maybe 4 times.
Yeah.
Twice while Dad had it, and they were not great paint jobs. No.
Was it FFA that
No, it was long before the tractor restoration contest of the FFA. The garage in town painted it once, and the IH dealer repainted it once.
Yeah.
But you got to remember that the paint wasn't so good back then, nor the painters were.
Yeah.
It was just to cover it up and kind of keep it from deteriorating too much.
There's some video in the Farmington Implement DVD where they were showing the tractors come down the line, and the guy's just standing there like this right here, and as it's moving down the line, and I'm thinking, we're over here masking off stuff, and oh, I got to run over here, I need to fix that. Well, they didn't. Them 140s I got, there's runs all over the place where they were, and then behind, like right here, back here, it would be completely nothing but yellow primer, where they didn't even bother to. And then even behind on the whole back side of the oil filter housing, where it's got the spin-on filter, but behind the filter back there's nothing but yellow primer.
You've got to remember the number of tractors they were turning out at any one time.
Yeah.
Just this one model, they made 28,000 of them in 2 years.
Yeah.
Just this model.
Yeah.
So this was coming down the line with everything else, and so they were getting them out the door quickly, especially in that post-World War II era, which
is this this is stage, what do you call it, stage one?
Yeah, stage one, yeah. Yep. The later 50, you got into the late 53s and 54s.
Yeah.
They had the hydraulics. The battery went back under the seat.
Yeah.
In 54. There might have been some very late 53s that had the battery back there. You can always find somebody who's more expert than you are on a tractor. Yeah. I mean, seriously. You go to a Red Power Roundup, and there's always somebody who's going to know something that you didn't. Or at least say they know.
We had a display in the tent at the fair, and we needed a Super M, but we couldn't get anybody to bring a Super M. So the guy, he said, well, I'll just put a Super M decal on the tractor. Well, 98% of it is, other than the internal parts, are an M. And the guy goes, he says, that ain't no Super M. So what, y'all got a wrong sticker on that Super M. And I said, well, how do you figure that? He said, 3-bolt starter versus 2-bolt starter. I was like, and it was this older guy that he knew his stuff. And I was like,
there would have been some other differences too.
But it was one of those last minute things where I said, just put a sticker on. We'll just.
I'm standing here looking at the gas cap. Have you ever read any of the legal history on the gas cap problem that
I remember
IH had?
They had a lot of lawsuits, I think it was, and it was a thing they had to do. They had to change out those caps because of the vent, or I guess it would get hot. It would vent better, I guess. But.
A farmer got burned. A farmer near Decatur, Illinois.
Yeah.
Gas splashed out. It ignited a fire. The case was that he had been badly burned. It wound up in a county about 100. The lawsuit wound up in a county about 150 miles away.
Yeah.
Maybe not quite that far. Near St. Louis. It's a famous county for lawsuits.
Yeah.
They go in there and they take companies to the cleaners. The lawyers do. They always venue it to that county somehow. And Bill Borgolf, who was an International Harvester employee, wound up testifying. His son has a real good book, came out many years ago on International Harvester. But Bill was one of those that testified, and there were television reports. Part of the settlement was they had to run reports on TV about this gas cap problem, warning farmers to trade in that gas cap. New ones would be sent out. Even after the sale of International Harvester, Navistar carried that responsibility of replacing those.
I ordered some 2 years ago. His Cub and the 300, I think, ordered a gas cap for him because they had his Cub had regular gas cap, but the 300 had a aftermarket, and it come in a Navistar box with Navistar tape wrapped in Navistar plastic. So it was, probably won't get that again now, but it'll have Trayton or something.
But some of the legal arguments in that case, some of those legal arguments are easily found online yet, as what was being pressed with the lawyers at that time.
Yeah.
The shock absorber on here, but it's amazing how much of a difference it made in the ride. And of course, this seat turns over.
Yeah.
So
You can stand up and
Your rear end could be dry in the morning when you got on it.
supposedly they had 2 or 3 different versions or strength and spring or something. I think it was. I've seen people put a football in them to help, but
For tractor rides?
But they
People will do that, yeah.
They said if you were like a real heavy person, you could get a real stiffer spring to put on it. And I've seen some that they looked a little thicker and shorter, but I don't know that.
This is my second spring, by the way. I was a little more ample when I broke the first one.
Yeah.
It was on a tractor ride, as it turned out. My buddy Bill Burnham's farm was just a few miles away. He showed up immediately with a replacement. You know, it is interesting to see what people did with attachments. Now this attachment, you know, a lot of people put on an attachment of some sort to raise this, so they didn't have to reach way back around and try to.
Yeah, I'm sure M&W had an attachment or something.
Yeah.
Extension or something like that.
Many people think this is the starter. It is not. It's an IH truck horn in under there. And that was put on.
I was going to say, I saw the foot.
Yeah.
I saw the foot.
But Larry Ipers put that truck horn on there. Either Larry or Terry, the Ipers boys. And, 9 times out of 10, somebody will get on there to try to start it, and they hit that button first, and they jump when the horn goes off.
Well, that's probably a good thing for anti-theft. You hear the horn out here blowing.
Right, exactly. I need to get some baling wire back on this drawbar. This is about the first time in its life it hasn't had baling wire on the drawbar.
Okay.
Dad always had a couple of rounds of it over here.
Yeah.
Farmer's fin, they called it. You never knew when you were going to need it.
Her dad takes the twine. Everything around the house or something, or the shop or something is tied with that
Baling twine, yeah.
And I said he could tie somebody up with that. Pull a truck out of the mud with the twine, I think.
I haven't looked in here in a while. I think there's some remnants of tractor rides in here. Yeah, at least a few basic tools. There we go. This goes back to another era.
Oh yeah.
This is the Red Power Roundup in 2002. And that was half-century magnet last year. But this didn't come along until 1960.
Yes.
It was actually invented in Ohio, I believe. Maybe at Ohio State University, the SMV emblem. And, you know, it's an interesting point to ponder. Has it saved any lives? You know, I think of your accident where somebody ran over you.
Yeah.
You know, people are going so fast and are so distracted now. I think all of the SMV emblems in the world may not help.
These right here are the worst thing.
It's terrible. So this came from Belhaven.
Belhaven.
The truck came from Belhaven. Originally, I think, was in the Winston-Salem area.
Okay.
The history reportedly is that it was first used to haul wood chips, and then wound up in a house garage there for 20 years. And for about 15 years, Mr. Chester Smith over at Belhaven owned this, and I am I think, the fourth owner.
Fourth owner. So it's a 1950.
This is a 51, right? It's 73,000 miles over 73 years. So it hasn't been abused. Hasn't been
and it's a L.
Yeah, L130.
L130. Okay.
Yeah.
So that'd be like a.
Don't ask me.
3/4 ton.
It's a 1 ton.
1 ton. Oh, 1 ton.
I'm still getting up to speed on it a little bit on various aspects and capabilities of it. I think it was made in Springfield, Ohio.
Springfield, Ohio.
And I was in Springfield actually early this week, and I tried to find where the plant had been. I didn't know the city that well, and I was under the gun on time. Again, there are a lot of people who have more knowledge about that than I do, and I'm always reluctant to state the case.
See if I can watch it, but they were talking about how they had to stop the line, but there were so many thousands of dollars they were losing per minute, and they were.
Well, it makes sense if they were idling the whole line.
Yeah, so they quickly got everything back in the line.
Showmanship was very important back in those days. They would bring in actors and actresses and models for dealer shows.
Yeah.
And the dealer shows were huge unveilings.
Yeah.
You know, they would go to Vegas or someplace like that, or Phoenix. Some of it was demonstrations out in the field, you know, and others it was in an auditorium somewhere with big name entertainers. My longtime associate Orion Samuelson was involved in a number of those. dealer introduction, tractor introductions.
We even got the international floor mats in here.
Oh, yeah, Chester took good care of it for sure. He repaired equipment in that Bellhaven area, and a lot of his work was on in the day he told me was on farm equipment and boats.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's yeah, got a little ashtray there, a spare bulb in there.
Maybe get you a cigar and hang out the side of it or something
I should.
like that.
That's a good idea, Matt. I should. Dad had one hanging out of our case, our dash there,
Yeah.
on the old Chevy. But yeah, it's
The parking brake and the
yep.
heater sure don't need that today.
Yeah, your air conditioning, of course, you
Is that?
raise the
Oh, okay, yeah,
vent
the vent
there.
up in the
Yep.
top up there. Of course, I'd
And,
imagine these here to have been opened and
Yeah, they would. You always open those up. They open a little tough right now. They need a little work on
serial
them.
plate.
Yep.
A lot of people wouldn't even know the left. You can tell the
Clutch.
clutch pedal there is for.
Sure. This radio is an unusual one. A collector of radios told me, yeah, it is Motorola, and then the main unit, which I assume has the tubes in it, is down the firewall down there. Can you see it?
Yeah.
It's a very unusual looking thing. And then the cables come out of the back of this and go down to that unit. There is an antenna cable that goes to something that looks like an antenna. I think I'm going to replace that.
Yeah.
It can be done. But the dials, as you can see, are in very nice shape. The dash. It actually, I should point this out, Matt, this truck was repainted.
Okay.
I think Mr. Smith repainted it. It was originally green. If you look back around, there, I don't know if you can see it back here or not, but there's some spots where I noticed when I was really cleaning it up the first time, I saw a little bit of green paint.
Oh, there, right there.
There you go.
Like some green.
Yeah.
I imagine it was that old Hunter green or
I
whatever
think you're exactly right, yeah.
that they used in.
I obviously need a new visor, side visor.
It's simple yet, but it's stylish. And
It really is. You know, you think about the era, 1951. You know, there was so much happening in that post-World War II era in the United States. Well, they've got another one coming up on combines, I guess, for the Farm Progress Show, which is week after next. I was on a conference call the other day. They make these as individual cards, and they have me sign them, and they pass them out at the Progress Show. So it's kind of comedic, but
yeah.
a friend of mine who farms southwest of Chicago, he's an M&W expert.
Oh yeah.
He collects everything M&W. His dad, in fact, was a dealer. And he's given me a lot of stuff like this
Yeah.
clutch extender.
Yeah.
And he made this for me, just a walking stick out of a gear shift. Isn't that kind of cool? That's kind of cool, huh?
Yeah.
I may need that increasingly someday. Yeah, but M&W had its pistons, you know, to power up those tractors. And so Bill, I think, has maybe 10 restored tractors that are loaded with M&W parts.
I was going to say, is that the guy that they had, Red Power Magazine did a article on him. He had it was a Super M, and I think it had every, or it was a W9 or something like that, that had every
he's got
option that you could
Yeah.
throw on to it. They had it made.
Bill Burnham is his name, and
I was going to.
there's a decal there. Actually, Bill had put that on a clock, and I had the clock up there, and the clock quit working, so I kept the decal. I'm sure he'll send me another one of these days.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's a great friend. Those are the original gauges for the Super H. In fact, Bill made. I said something to him about I was looking for a way to display those gauges after they were taken off, and
Rhett's collected some of the gauges, like the F12 that we were working on. He took in
The water heater gauge, I think.
the water temp gauge.
I just think they're neat.
Yeah.
In fact, I left them on that tractor for the longest time, and a farmer from Missouri drove one of my tractors on a tractor ride. He sent me new gauges after that, and I thought, well, I kept them another 10 years, and then I finally decided it was time to put them on, but I never threw these away. And Bill sent me that battery box a couple of Christmases ago. Oh, here's a little bit of history over here related to IH too. They put this in the sidewalk between the Tribune Tower and 401. 401 was, I need to put up a picture here of 401. You know, that's where IH was headquartered from 1965 until about 82 or 3.
Yeah.
And then Navistar went next door to the NBC Tower, and IH went out to near O'Hare Field for just a couple of years before the buyout.
They had some inside the front rooms, or display rooms, where they had all the tractors set up.
Oh yes, right.
They had, of course, the fast hitch display, and then they had some Cub Cadets and things like that. And they would change out stuff and scouts and things like that throughout the years, I guess.
In that same era, IH also had a tremendous display at the Museum of Science and Industry.
Yeah.
And you know, when I was 8 years old, we went up there and I saw that, and man, it was embellished in my mind. You know, it just emblazoned. Then they IH kind of dropped the ball around 1990, 95.
Yeah.
The museum, a farm woman said she'd gone into the Museum of Science and Industry and there was no farm exhibit. So she really got the wheels turning and contacted companies to back it up. And she called both John Deere and Case IH and said, would you like to participate in this display? John Deere called her back. Somebody in Racine never did, she said.
Oh.
So John Deere got the exhibit in there with a combine. And now it's kind of old. I don't know what they're going to do about it, because it's limited space down there.
Yeah.
You're sitting under the steam locomotive in that museum. They had to cut the tires and the wheels a little bit on that combine to get it in there. Now that combine is, like I say, it's at least 20 years old, and it's not current with the times. But for a while, when you went up in the cab, you heard me talking on the radio in that combine too. The guy who sent me one of those floor pieces, he was a farmer, and I was talking to him during harvest time. It was an actual radio recording.
What year was this?
That would have been about 79 or 80, I guess, right? You know, right after I went to WGN. I was lucky. It was AM radio's heyday. I mean, you know, there was FM hardly had any audience, FM stations, and you know, we were listening to every day on AM radio. We'd have people listening to us from about Fort Wayne to Cedar Rapids, and from about Louisville to Green Bay during the farm show.
Beth likes the NCIS or whatever. Yeah, I was telling you about that, where we were watching the.
Oh yeah.
They were talking about it on the Red Power Forum, I think, one time.
And he's in his basement, and there's your voice on the television.
Yeah, on the radio.
That was the very first season, episode 10. It ran on the night of Linda's birthday.
Yeah.
And frankly, I didn't even know it was going to run.
Yeah.
But back in those days, our television show was U.S. Farm Report before we sold it, and we were carried on stations in Los Angeles, New York, Denver, and I think that's how the producers of that show got a hold of it. But I was driving into Chicago the next morning about 4 o'clock, and they were calling the overnight show and saying, "Hey, did you hear Max? That was Max." I didn't know anything about it till then. No, it didn't put the girls through college.
No royalties off of that, huh?
Yeah, right. memories come back, you know, when you get up on the seat.
Oh yeah, most
Think
definitely.
about your relatives, you think about Dad, Uncle Frank, all of the hours that you spent out of the field.
Yeah.
Dreaming and scheming what you wanted to do the rest of your life. I remember being on this tractor thinking about how I wanted to be on the radio someday.
Yeah. Just think, you know, that was a major purchase back in the day.
Oh, sure, absolutely. And my Max's tractor shed segment this weekend, last weekend,
Yeah.
I had an Oliver tractor from southern part of Johnston County.
Yes, yes.
And Oliver Super 88. And it replaced, you know, the lady who owned it, whose husband fixed it up. It was her grandfather's tractor. And she remembers it replaced the mule.
Yeah.
You know, and you have to think about that, the difference that it made when it arrived on the farm. Dad remembered the names of the teams that he worked with till the day he died.
Yeah.
You ready there, Matt? All right. See if we can get it going. It was already in reverse. There. Boy, you know, your mirrors aren't very good here.
Yeah.
It's a little hard to see, especially backing into the dark. Your dad's helping give me some guidance there. All right. Thank you, sir. You noticed it started right up.
Yeah. They done any electronics or anything like that, or is it just straight?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I don't think it's been changed up at all.
I know that's
Didn't take much to take the gas cap off.
Chuck Man.
Chuck Man?
He's got the tool that International had in a little pack that goes in the gas tank that reforms the lip.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, they had
That's
a tool.
unusual.
They had a tool at the dealer that would, if people would stick a can up there and it would bend the lip, and then the cap would never work back.
Exactly.
So International had a specific tool to stick down in there that would reform the lip.
It's amazing when you think about it, all of the stuff that they made.
But little, just the tabs on the cap. The cap might be bad, but
Yeah. Well,
I
that's
appreciate
about it.
Yeah. Thank you.
We can do a close if you want to. If you just tuned in, you just missed it.
Yeah.